You can't make a game that's great for everyone. No matter how hard the brain geniuses at Activision, Ubisoft, or EA try, there's no escaping game mechanics that straight up piss people off. Difficulty is meant to add some fun friction to the gameplay, but these things go so far we can't tell if they're great or the worst things ever. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 20 of the most controversial game mechanics of all time. Starting off with number 20, it's weapon breaking. One of the most contentious game mechanics in recent memory, weapon durability is a land of contrasts. So, games like Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom make weapons eventually shatter after too much use and force you to play creatively. Instead of just relying on those weapons, you use all your weirdo powers instead. But sometimes we want to keep the biggest, best sword and just don't want to lose our precious favorites, so we have to store the best weapons away where they will never be touched. Games like Far Cry 2 go even further, with weapons literally falling apart in your hands mid-game, forcing you to slowly trudge back to base and get a new gun. The trend continues in Stalker 2, where your crappy guns turn into dust after a single gunfight. You can repair weapons in Stalker 2, but it was disgustingly expensive at launch. It took a long time before the developers fixed the game, too. Before the patch, you'd be spending every coupon you had on gun repairs. At its best, weapon breaking forces us to try new things, but at its worst, it's another layer of busy work that gets in the way of the fun. At number 19 is comeback mechanics. We're still in the warm glow of the Nintendo Switch 2 launch period, and we've been digging into Mario Kart World like gluttons for punishment. That's what we are. The latest Mario Kart forces us to ask a question: why does Nintendo always have to stick comeback mechanics into every game? Comeback mechanics are basically features that give losing players a fighting chance to win a match. Whether it's a race, a fist fight, or a party game, comeback mechanics, I mean, they're big in a lot of games. You can find them in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, you can find them in Mario Party, you can find them in Mario Kart World. The blue shell is both everything we hate and everything we love about comeback mechanics in one thing. If you somehow never played Mario Kart, here's a primer. The blue shell is a special rare item that targets the lead racer. It always hits whoever's in the number one spot, and there are very few ways to counter it. It's basically a guaranteed hit that drags you out of first place every single time. When you're playing against dumb AI opponents, it feels especially cruel. Sure, your little kid brother might need the extra help, but bot number 19, they don't need to feel better about themselves. They don't feel anything about themselves. They're like 10 lines of code. Blue shells are so hated that there is a very vocal number of players demanding item customization in Mario Kart World. Right now, there's no option to disable items. The best you can do is make it so even more items appear, which is super generous, Nintendo, thanks. There's no escaping the blue shell. It's a blue shell world. You're just living in it. And number 18 is mandatory stealth. Somehow mandatory stealth sequences where you fail instantly if you're caught are still a thing in video games. Don't know how. Stealth in general it's improved so much in video games over the last 2 decades, mostly thanks to freeform game mechanics where you can get caught, sneak away, and reset without getting a game over screen. But mandatory insta-fail stealth sequences were common in like PS2 era games, and they're still big in games like Star Wars Outlaws. Like in an early section of that game, players are forced to sneak through a city district with very little practice. You're basically thrown into the deep end. If your smuggler gets caught by the space mafia, you get an unceremonious game over screen.
Hey!
And it's literally one of the hardest stealth sections in the game. I mean, and it should surprise nobody, but players were pissed off at this. Thankfully, the entire section was patched to give you more options, and the rest of the game has been greatly improved thanks to a lot of developer post-release support. But mandatory stealth sections in video games just need to die out. We thought they were extinct until Star Wars Outlaws brought them back from the dead with that Eldritch Sith magic. And number 17 is the weight limit. When you're told to explore the world and collect lots of stuff, we really like picking up everything we can. And some games tell you no, you can't pick up whatever you want. Don't even think about grabbing that Mega Death Sword in Oblivion Remastered. Let's say you're almost over encumbered. You're not gonna, don't do it. Every Bethesda game has a weight limit, and the sheer volume of random junk in video games like Fallout 4 make us want an infinite inventory. There's never enough room, and when you're weighted down, you walk very slowly, and yeah, it looks silly. Games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 have a pretty severe weight limit, but that game just gives you a horse early on so you can pack it with stuff, and that makes the problem a little less awful. Probably the worst modern example of weight limits, Stalker 2. It's a game where you can barely hold on to a single primary weapon and secondary weapon without getting over encumbered. It's not a shooter, it's a careful inventory management game. Even the ammo weighs something, and if you want to move faster than a snail, you need to think like Scrooge McDuck and portion out your bullets like the stingiest stalker ever. Oh, they didn't name it shooter, did they? They named it stalker. You gotta do much more stalking. You have to do more stalking. Don't even think about bringing more than 3 full magazines of bullets. Why? Just because it takes more than 100 bullets to take down some mutants doesn't mean you're allowed to carry that many bullets or anything. And number 16 is random rolls. These are controversial because they aren't as random as they seem. Games like Baldur's Gate 3 are full of random dice rolls, and those rolls are influenced in ways that aren't totally random because we, as video game people, hate randomness. We don't want to fail the same dice roll 10 times in a row, so the game is automatically designed to even out those odds, which can make some rolls feel totally unfair. They might be fair, but they do feel unfair. And that brings us to XCOM Enemy Unknown. The tactical strategy games give you the best odds on your shots, 99% chance to hit that definitely don't hit 99% of the time. At least doesn't feel like they do. Don't know exactly how XCOM probability and percentages work. All we know is we hate it. Just want to shoot things. Games like Mario x Rabbids were actually applauded by the video game community by removing randomness completely from tactical battles. But we can't imagine XCOM or even Baldur's Gate without hilariously botching a sure thing. Moving on to number 15, it's the Corpse Run, a mechanic that adds tension to death. Instead of dying and reloading your save file, games with Corpse Run features make you retrieve your dead body to collect all the lost loot. Minecraft, probably the most popular example, but literally any other survival game will have Corpse Runs. If mutants kill you in a deep cave in Sons of the Forest, you'll have to spend a very, very long time recovering your stuff. There's this sort of risk-reward system where you risk more by bringing more items on an adventure. Even casual games like Shovel Knight have a version of Corpse Run. You'll have to recover floating money bags after you die, and every Dark Souls game up to Elden Ring has some similar mechanic where you'll drop all the soul currency you've collected on death. If you die a second time, those souls they're just gone forever. It's a purposefully punishing system that challenges you to recover lost stuff after death, but in the worst examples, it feels like padding. Instead of playing the game, you're sprinting to an arbitrary spot to collect arbitrary junk that may disappear. At number 14, random battles. JRPGs will never fully let go of random battles. So many recent games still feature this mechanic from the 8-bit era of games, and many consider it quite annoying. You know what I'm talking about. You walk around an empty room, the screen flashes, you're sucked into a battle screen, takes forever to complete. Games as recent as Fantasian, they still use random battles.
Activating defenses. Targets confirmed.
I don't know, the problem only gets aggravating when you're fighting a new random battle every few steps. Some games really overtune the random battle rate, and hearing that same battle music can get old pretty quick, unless the fighting music is awesome, like Final Fantasy VII. I don't think I ever get sick of that. And I mean, games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Clair Obscur completely phased out the typical random battle in different ways, so random battles are kind of a nostalgic feature at this point. Like all controversial features, it's not just bad because it's a feature, it can be done well. Fantasian adds new wrinkles, and other games like Octopath Traveler play the mechanic completely straight. And number 13 is unlockable easy mode. Some video games are so scared that you're going to stop having fun, they make themselves annoying. Like Devil May Cry, for instance, it offers an unlockable easy mode. You get it after dying 3 times in a row. You know, I'm playing the game for the challenge. I want to overcome those bosses. Begging us to lower the difficulties, it's just rubbing salt in the wound. I want to get good. And other games have their own easy modes. Metal Gear Solid 5 has the chicken hat you can unlock after you've failed multiple times. Basically gives you an item that makes failure impossible, but it also mocks you. It very intentionally mocks you. It's a chicken hat. They're calling you a chicken. Just give me another chance, game. Come on. Super Mario 3D World, if you die too many times in a level, you'll be offered the degrading invincibility leaf. It gives you permanent invincibility at the cost of keeping your level completion score at 0. It's as humiliating as the chicken hat. Ninja Gaiden Black spits in our faces as well with Ninja Dog mode, which makes the games a lot easier, but it also makes fun of you, which only makes us want to kick these unlockable easy modes to the curb harder. Sure, some baby gamer is gonna need permanent invincibility to progress, but I want the games to have a little bit more faith in me, that's all.
Or should I say, young Ninja Ryu Hayabusa? It seems I have greatly overestimated you. Oh well.
And number 12 is mandatory motion controls. Motion controls just won't go away. No matter what we do, games keep enforcing motion controls in these tiny, minuscule ways. Astrobot is one of the few that demands you use the PlayStation dual-stock gyro to control something in-game. Even Mario Kart 8 Deluxe constantly shoves motion controls at us, making us rapidly disable them in any race when playing with friends. Motion controls, they're not going to leave us alone, and especially with the growth of VR games, where they should basically require them, it just gives us another reason to avoid strapping $1,000 worth of plastic to our heads. Force motion controls reached their peak in the Wii era.
You bastard! You'll regret that!
But the worst examples all came from the legendary failed Xbox Kinect peripheral, an object so terrible it practically destroyed Xbox One after Microsoft briefly announced it would be mandatory for the console. Luckily, that never happened because the Kinect, it's awful. Games like Star Wars Kinect and Sonic Free Riders, they made motion controls into a punchline because nothing on the Kinect actually worked. At least the Wiimote, it worked. It did something. I don't love what it did a lot of the time, but it worked. And there were games where it was actually great. Problem is, with the Kinect, there was no real guarantee your body movements translated into anything, ever. I mean, I want to bring up Tony Hawk Ride, but I feel like it's a whole thing. It doesn't work. It did not work. And number 11 is the grind. Live service games, they're their own kind of controversial. But one of the most famously hated and loved mechanics is the grind. Games like Destiny 2 and Diablo 4, they wouldn't exist if not for the infinite grind. The promise that there's some piece of equipment that's slightly better, waiting for you if you just complete one more event, join one more playlist, waste yet another evening staring at a TV that cannot love you back. The grind isn't a bug of the live service model, it's the live service model. Thought I was going to say it's a feature. It's not a feature, it's the live service model. It's how these games keep players engaged for months and months. And some people absolutely love that hunt. It's exciting to work towards goals and slowly grind your way up the ranks. You're basically guaranteed success as long as you're willing to put in the time, which is not how things work outside of games a lot of the time. And it makes the game make sense, you know? It's not just about hunting down top-tier equipment that's so rare it's more likely than winning the lottery. It's also about leveling up and earning whatever cryptic XP the game is forcing you to do next. Diablo 4 has so many currencies, progression tokens, credits. It's hard for a lapsed player to even understand what's going on, much less know what events they should be doing to get the best stuff. But the best stuff doesn't matter in a live service game because the developers will always add better stuff. There's another more rare item coming. A debuff of all of the stuff that you got is also on the way, so it'll stop mattering after a few months. That's the nature of the grind. It's harsh, but fair, and also not actually fair if you look at it in the long term. And number 10, it's timed quests. There's nothing worse than an invisible time limit in video games. One of the most controversial type quests in like Dragon's Dogma 2, they got the special icon next to it. A small icon that's easy to miss if you're not looking carefully. These icon quests are on a time limit, and if you wait too long, they'll permanently fail. In a game where you can easily take over 50 plus hours to complete it, losing access to content means you'll never, ever see it. They're so brutal in Dragon's Dogma 2 because everything takes forever.
Let my magic imbue your weapons with the fury of the elements.
Dead Rising is infamously an entire game based on a timed quest. The problem isn't necessarily a problem there because the game's meant to be replayed over and over again. It's kind of like if you mashed up Crazy Taxi with zombies, kinda. I am taking liberties. Just deal with it. At number 9, it's level scaling. Some video games, they level the worlds up with you, like Oblivion Remastered, which is Oblivion. But the monsters match your skills, so you're quote-unquote never bored. There's one big problem with this mechanic, though. Enemies don't get a little harder. They just keep getting a lot harder until your best gear can't quickly defeat them. Level scaling is a common practice in Bethesda RPGs like Fallout 4 and Skyrim, where enemies conform themselves to your skill level instead of doing anything interesting. It's a common complaint with gamers that basically it flattens the difficulty curve of an open world RPG. Instead of making the game easier as you become stronger, low-level enemies become godlike nuisances that ruin your gear and stop all your fun. Eventually, you're better off just running past enemies in Oblivion Remastered altogether. Your gear becomes useless, and simple fights turn into slogs because enemies with way too much health. They're the norm now. Why? I mean, it's nice that you can explore basically anywhere at any time, but not totally sure if level scaling makes that any more fun. And number 8 is instant death QTEs, already an issue in video games. The QTE, the quick time event. Some people hate them with an undying passion, and for good reason. For a long time, they were done to death. When video games used to end in like a lame QTE boss fight, it was no surprise gamers absolutely hated them. I mean, look at Warhammer 40k Space Marine versus Space Marine 2. Space Marine 1 has a lame QTE boss fight. Space Marine 2 has a real, actually designed boss fight that feels very climactic.
The Demon Lord! Anything else is just wasting ammunition!
Instant death QTEs are amongst the worst types of QTEs, though. Let's look at one of the most popular games ever. Resident Evil 4, it's packed with instant death QTEs. If you don't press the flashing buttons fast enough, Leon gets a gruesome death. Infamously, there's an entire cutscene packed with one deadly QTE after another. If you remember playing this game the first time around, just dying over and over at the Krauser cutscene where a military guy murders Leon with a knife because you didn't press the buttons fast enough. Instead of recreating that cutscene in the remake, Capcom made it into a much better boss fight that you actually get to control. Starting to see a pattern here.
The sample Sadler developed, that's all.
And number 7 is energy. Energy is all about limiting content for players so they'll keep playing. It's one of the most annoying modern mechanics in mobile games. The mechanic goes by many different names, energy, stamina, whatever else, but it's always linked with restricting how much you can play a game, usually only on mobile devices, and usually designed to force us to habitually play a sketchy game over long periods to drive monetization out of pure frustration. Energy is a controversial mechanic because it's the sort of thing only a boardroom suit thinks sounds good. You take away the ability to play the game and force you to pay if you want to play it more. Luckily, most games that use these mechanics are so unforgivably basic, we'd have never needed to engage with them for very long. And these mechanics aren't strictly limited to mobile games. Even games like Fortnite try to habitualize your gameplay stuff. You can play as long as you want in Fortnite, but you only really progress if you're completing daily or weekly tasks. Once those are done, progress kind of crawls to a halt. That's the Battle Pass way. You can earn tons of XP through community-made creative modes in Fortnite, but you're limited to a daily cap before the XP earnings slow down. Some people will argue it's better to limit players so they don't grind all day, and features like this do give dedicated players a chance if they can only play for a few hours a day versus the no-life gamers out there. Still feels a little scummy though. And number 6 is the hunger meter. When games try to simulate reality, sometimes the systems go a little far. When hunger and thirst mechanics are added to a game, sometimes we'll find ourselves jamming food in our faces for ages. In a land of contrasts, look at the food situation in Stalker 2 versus Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Both games are hardcore open-world action games where survival is difficult, and yet Stalker 2 goes way too hard. You can't fast travel at all, you can't carry a whole lot of food items, and you're stuffing your face constantly while you're sprinting around. It feels like you're starving to death every 15 minutes. Kingdom Come uses your max stamina in a smarter way. Essentially, you can spend max stamina while fast traveling, so you can quickly go to town to grab food, and then back to wherever you were, whatever you're doing. Food's also pretty plentiful and not so expensive, making the hunger meter not so restrictive as an essential part of the game. If you want to talk about difficult to deal with food systems, though, Red Dead Redemption 2 has got to be the poster child. It makes perfect sense why survival games make you hunt down food, but RDR2 is a complicated mess of systems we're still honestly confused by. Look at the meter in the corner of the screen. What does that mean? And food, it's so prohibitively expensive that you'll be spending all your dollar bills on ammo and snacks for the road at the start of the game. Heck, you're barely scraping by late in the game. Without food, your cowboy wastes away and your stamina disappears. In a game where you're getting shot constantly and stuck in action scenes, it feels like you're always desperate for that next hunk of break. Whether that's better or worse than Red Dead Redemption 1, which featured no simulation systems at all and just lets you shoot stuff for fun, that's totally up for you to decide. And number 5 is limited saves. It's probably one of the most controversial mechanics that we kind of love. It was made famous in the Resident Evil series. Your saves are limited by rare ink ribbon items that can only be used on typewriters. In a game where you're always managing a limited supply of ammo and health items, it kind of makes sense to be able to restrict your saves to add tension. Do you want to waste another save or explore a little bit further into the mansion? And it's still a system that's hated for bringing too much friction to the gameplay, and we get that, especially in games like the original Kingdom Come Deliverance, where saves are restricted by a special item called Savior Snaps. One of the most popular mods in Kingdom Come removes all the limited save mechanics, lets you save as much as you want, and it's clear that the sequel kind of agrees because you can now save and quit like a normal game. It's a controversial one we're willing to hear some debate on. Even Capcom cut limited saves out of the remakes. It did include the features, but only on hardcore difficulty modes. It's kind of funny going back to the old Resident Evils. You feel like you had plenty of ink ribbons to save. More than enough, really. It felt limited. It felt hardcore, but I don't know that it really was. So now they stick these into games that are actually extremely difficult, and I don't know how much I love that. And number 4 is fall damage. It's in every video game for good reasons. In reality, gravity is a thing that exists, and it will squish you if you fall too far. It's a good way to set the boundaries of your video game world. Bottomless pits are one way to block you from going everywhere you want to in a video game. And fall damage as a mechanic isn't really a problem. It's only controversial when it's really inconsistent. Take games like Elden Ring, where the difference between instant death and a normal safe jump can just be a couple inches in in-game height. Elden Ring is a game about exploration, but there's a hard cutoff for when you'll die from falling too far, and sometimes the heights do not make sense. Sometimes you'll be able to jump down impossibly long distances without a scratch, and sometimes you'll die from falling down a few rocks. It's a consistent issue with the Dark Souls games, but it's certainly not limited to those. Take Sonic. Sonic is full of giant 2D levels where the blue blur can drop jump and speed at ridiculous speeds. You're meant to fall down holes and explore more, but there's an easy way for developers to differentiate a death hole from a regular bottom of the screen hole. Sonic Generations and other games in the series solve the problems with these inelegant giant red warning signs at the bottom of the screen. Looks legit terrible, and it doesn't fit in the level at all, and it makes it uglier. So, I mean, not the ugliest. Wait till you get to the next one. But yeah. And number 3, the yellow paint. That's right. I mean, I hesitate to say it's a new phenomenon because it's been around a while. But the paint splatter mechanic developers use to guide your eye and point you in the right direction. It feels new to me because I'm old as shit. But hey, it's in the original Alan Wake. That game is 15 years old, so new is maybe not the right word. But anyway, you get direction in the form of yellow paint that looks like it was splattered around like by a toddler. Looks bad, makes no sense, and it's super useful in a world where graphics are getting way too photorealistic. One of the earlier examples I can remember are the red paint in Mirror's Edge, where pipes and other important landmarks, they're just straight up red. So you know where to go. It was important in a game that was about non-stop running, and it feels important when every barrel is covered in yellow crap in the Resident Evil 4 remake. Paint splatters everywhere in modern games. I mean, like I said, it's pretty handy in Resi 4's remake. You got it in the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Colors are maybe a little different, but there's a lot of paint. I mean, it was in Deus Ex Human Revolution even. My earliest, this is excessive feeling, I'm pretty sure was Alan Wake. It's silly, though, because you could just be lost and confused also. Pick your poison. And number 2 is the 100% completion nightmare. One of the most cruel things a game developer can do is force you to play every bit of their game. In, let's say, Jet Force Gemini, you can't fight the last boss until you have finished literally everything in the game. And video games still do this. Batman Arkham Knight locks the true ending behind 100% completion in Gotham City, which includes 179 Riddler trophies that are scattered all over 3 huge open-world districts.
It was perfect! My perfect victory!
We put in the bat work and got everything and earned the actual ending, but was it worth it? No. I'm not going to do it ever again. And that doesn't count the games that are just a nightmare to 100%. Crash Bandicoot 4 is a breezy, fun, old-school platformer that it's great for quick sessions until you got to do 100% completion. Doing everything in Crash 4 is my idea of hell. You have to find all the gems, collect all the hidden tapes, speedrun the levels for platinum relics. You have to do it once, and then you have to do it all over again for the inverted versions of the levels. The main Crash Bandicoot 4 is estimated to take about 10 hours to beat. The old Crash games were actually pretty fun and quick to 100%, but Crash 4 players say it takes about 100 hours to do everything. We're good. Thank you. That's not my idea of fun. And finally, at number 1, it's pay to win. The most controversial mechanic in video games will always be pay to win because it represents the unbridled greed of the video game industry in its most obvious form. Probably the easiest example comes from NBA 2K25 and its My Team mode. In this competitive mode, you gather cards and upgrade them, but grinding is entirely pointless when whales can just straight up purchase the best cards through auctions or pay to max out their characters. Instead of making a game where skilled players can win through practice, it's purely a numbers game where the richest player wins. And it's not like 2K is the only culprit here. EA Sports is pretty much the same. Every EA Sports game has a poorly thought out, flashy mode designed to pat whales on the back and tell them they're good boys, as long as they keep shelling out the digital loot anyways. The only people that don't think pay to win is controversial are the empty suits counting the cash. There's a lot more controversial game mechanics out there. We wanted to include bad hacking mini games, games where you drown instantly, rubber banding, etc., etc. If there's a mechanic in a video game, somebody doesn't like it, and that makes it controversial. Leave us a comment. Let us know your least loved video game mechanics. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on Gameranx.